everybody. I'm just in the middle of a break editing our latest film, Redgate. This is a horror film that me and my brother and several others of us went up in the hills. Man, it's almost been like 2 months ago. We shot this up in the hills outside of Montana, outside of our town here, and there's just 3 or 4 beautiful lakes up there, and we thought, my brother was up there last year, he's like, this would be a great place to shoot a horror film. And I was like, can you even get a vehicle up there? How do we get this equipment up there? And all these different things happen. It was the same process. The horror film is called Redgate. Redgate's going to be a really, really good horror film. We're finally done with it. It's a very unique film, to say the least. And I'm really happy to get started on it. But today, what I want to talk about today was I want to get into the editing process of how I'm editing this horror film. And it's kind of a unique editing process because I've done a lot of different editing processes for full-length feature films. This is technically my 5th full-length feature film. So this one, what I'm actually doing for this particular film is taking it, and the initial process I did is the step 1 is I took it and just whipped through a super, super rough cut, no final audio, no titles, no color correction, no video effects, nothing whatsoever. And I just wanted to put out a full, real rough cut. I haven't done this process in a long time. Usually I'll edit each scene by scene and get it as close to it as I want to, then go back and correct things. But for this film, I was like, yeah, heck with this. I'm going to put a whole rough cut out there, and then I'm going to go back, and fix things as we go. But the idea for me is put out a rough cut that's super long as possible, within reason, and then come back and clip things down. And the reason I did this for this particular film is we had a very loose script for this film, so I wanted to make sure that I put enough footage in the first cut of the film to make sure that there was enough footage to make it a full-length feature film. In the first rough cut that we screened a couple weeks ago at our theater, the runtime is about 1 hour and 42 minutes. So what I'm hoping to do here is step 2, go from a rough cut to a second rough cut. And the second rough cut, what I'm doing right here on my computer here is I'm going back through all the footage, and I'm going to cut that footage down from 1:42 to, however, hopefully to shave off at least 10 minutes of the film. I'd like this to be about an 85 to 90 minute film when it's all said and done. So I'm going through step 2, doing a second rough cut. I'm going back from the first rough cut, then cutting that down. I'm just watching it the whole way through and just kind of chopping off little pieces here and there and chopping off shots necessarily that I don't like second time looking at it as well as I like the first time. And then hopefully that shaves off at least 5 to 10 minutes. And after I get that rough cut done, then I'm going to go through it actually one more time, and I'm going to look at other ways. If it's not low enough to where I think the film should run at, if it's not 85 to 90 minutes, I'm going to go through another process of cutting some more shots until I get it at least 90 minutes or lower. Because that's, in my heart of hearts, I feel like that's the length of this particular film. And if it goes much longer than that, I think the audience would kind of lose interest in it. It wouldn't be as effective as the one that we screened. So for our focus group, we ran a focus group a couple weeks ago. One of their comments was that it was very boring and it was very long and it should be cut way down. And part of the issue with our focus group, I felt like, is I intentionally made it kind of long and boring, so I piled on top of the film so it kind of, my intention was almost to make it long and boring, and I knew that was going to be the reaction to it. So what I was hoping to do is take their comments in which they, confirmed what I thought personally. That did give me a confirmation that, we need to cut a lot out of this film. So, anyways, I'll cut down and get it cut down a second time, a third time, and then when I get down to like the final rough cut, we gotta call them rough cuts. There's no audio, there's no titles, there's no video effects. The third rough cut, what I'm going to do is, and this is the third step, is I'm going to put in. I'll replay that back. The third step actually might be another rough cut. That's what I'm looking at doing right now. So, first step, rough cut. Just throw it all in and see what we got. Second cut, go through the whole entire film again and cut it down to a second rough cut to the length. If the length does not hit the length that I want personally, I'm going to go to a third process of taking the second rough cut and cutting it up some more. And then I'm hoping to get a final rough cut where the length is exactly where I want it to be. And then the third, fourth step in that process will be adding the audio. We have actors that are in New York right now that were in this film, and they're in New York waiting for me to send them clips, and they have professional audio equipment they're going to use to do their voices and everything for this film. So part of the process is going to get their audio from New York, they're going to send it back to me over the internet, and then other people in the film like Kelly, and there's a couple other parts there in town that can get their audio there. The other part of it is I have another professional audio designer that specializes in horror films, lives in Missoula. I have his contact, and I'm going to reach out to him, see if he wants to produce some of the music for the film. So the next process is to get all that audio collected this next month or so. Work really hard to get all the lines and the gaff work, the sound effects, all that audio compiled in the next month. And that will put me right around December 1st. And then hopefully have all that done by December 1st, the audio synced up, everything else. And then when the audio is fully completed, then I'll go back, add in the titles, add in some effects and things of that nature, and tweak it as much as I possibly can. And then after we tweak it, so December I'll just be tweaking this thing, and screening it and tweaking it some more and watching it again, and tweaking it more. And then hopefully my goal is by Christmas Day I have a final full piece, fully cut audio, titles, the film color grades the exact way I want, the exact look I want, and by that date, December 25th, I'm hoping that we have this final cut of what I think is going to be one of the best horror films that anybody has ever seen, ever. Very unique film. It's very bizarre, very unique, very trippy. Film's called Redgate, and we're hoping, since no one's been producing films at all during coronavirus, we're hoping that we can get picked up with a studio or even Netflix or something like that and sign on this horror film, because when this is done, the scenery is amazing. We were up there for a week in the middle of nowhere on these lakes. It's just going to be a freaking amazing film when it's finally completed by Christmas. So I hope that gives everybody a little bit of some insights and tips there. When it comes to editing a full-length feature film, that is the process that I'm currently using. The process, if you ever try to do a full-length feature film yourself on an independent budget by yourself, pretty much like a lot of independent filmmakers do, you can kind of use a similar process of lay out, put everything in the timeline, do a super rough cut, then rough cut it down, cut it down, cut it down, and cut it down until you get the exact timeline you want. Then put in the audio, and then work on the graphics and titles at the very end, and boom, bam, thank you, man. That is the process you're going to use to make a very, very good full-length feature film. All right, that's all I have for today, and we'll check back in here, hopefully the next couple days, maybe in a week or so, and I'll let you know what progress I've made on Redgate.